Hey, Restore Hearts family. This is the voice of your host and producer, Tiara Sharma. And I'm so happy that you joined me today for this episode of Restore Hearts. Now, when you watch this episode, I want you to know that Restore Hearts TV is celebrating 6 months of being partnered with I Speak TV Network to broadcast this show that combines faith and mental health to provide education and empowerment to men and women in our community. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to celebrate the success of starting this network and starting this broadcast. And today we're going to enjoy some clips of some of the most empowering moments here on Restore Hearts TV.
Because there was no crying to her. And I remember one day she said to me, she said, I don't cry to human beings. I cry to God. I don't allow human beings to see me in such a distraught state. And she had always had this
Wow.
thing, absolutely. And she always had this saying where nobody cares about how you feel, so you shouldn't either. The world's gonna keep going. And I kind of like lived my life to that. But people will tell you I'm sensitive, but at the same time, it's like I'm numb to a lot of things because I've been living with her. I've been conditioned to like, yo, when life happens, it happens. You catch it and you keep going because nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear that. You know what I mean? And she was the head of the family. So if you come around my family, we're all like these seemingly cold people,
Mm,
but we're really not
mm.
because it started at the top.
I used to say this jokingly, but I was very serious, and that I did not realize that men have feelings until I had a son. Because you don't see and that's the response that I often get. It's like, what? It's like, yeah. Men, women, everybody laughs, but I am so serious because
Mhm.
the only emotion that it seemed that men had was that were able to really have would be either angry or happy. And
Mhm.
then if somebody died, you could cry. Other than
Mhm.
that, tuck your chin in, put your
Mhm.
shoulders up, and you better keep going. Like, keep going, put your head down, keep going. And
Absolutely.
so I honestly did not understand that men had a range of feelings until I had my son. And then
Mhm.
so having my son and seeing him experience his different emotions made me turn my head and look at my husband like, well, I, it gave me sympathy for the men in
Mm.
my life. So that's how my perspective from a woman, a mother of a son now.
Mhm.
It's just I know that our behaviors, like I said, our behaviors, we can't justify that behavior. Screaming at
No,
our
you can't.
sons, sarcasm, the belittling, the all of these things that we may participate in, but then to also know that this is really not how I want to treat my son. God, what is wrong with me? What's going
Absolutely.
on? You know?
You've been conditioned in a sense, that's funny that you say that because it's like my mother is hyper affectionate
Mm,
and she always wants to hug. She always saying, I love you always. It's like it's too much. And the reason being is because my grandmother wasn't affectionate, being her mother, and then my great grandmother weren't affectionate people. Their love came through what it is that they did: sacrifice, commitment, you know, trying to raise you, guide you, teach you. It didn't come through I love yous and hugs. I think as men, we get dehumanized in a
Yes.
sense, because you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to not cry. You're supposed to, bottle everything up. And then when this explosion happens, people, get surprised. Like my mom, at growing up, you know, I would have these episodes where I would just get very angry, and she said it like, "You're a rageaholic. Like you get so angry because it's like we have to live passive aggressively, So it's like, so if I'm in the house and I'm not being treated properly or just not treated at all because I'm alone, and then when I get outside around other people, you don't know how to manage emotions because you're taking things out that might have happened in the home out on people outside, and it could be like the littlest thing. So as men, we have to stop society. I'm not going to even just pigeonhole it for women or just society in general. In all cultures, need to stop dehumanizing their sons because we definitely do have feelings. I think with her working 3 jobs, having to walk, having to, do all these things, these to make sure her kids were provided for, and then, on the flip side with my grandmother, take raising her great grandchildren, because it wasn't just me, it was my older brother as well, that I
Right.
failed to mention. Resentment,
Yes.
there has to be some resentment, not
Yeah.
towards the children, but just life in general. Like, why do I have to do this? So outwardly, it's going to come out. That resentment is going to
It's going
show.
to.
The love is going to be there, but so I think that's what it is. You can't feel what we're feeling is their resentment for their assignment and their plight
Wow.
and what it is that they have to do.
My God. Resentment for the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mic
Absolutely.
drop. That's a mic drop. Are we conversation done?
During that time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm the reason we're not getting pregnant. He's got to resent me. He probably doesn't want to be with me. He wants kids. What man doesn't want kids? Suicide crossed my mind several times. But, mental health in the Black community is so just pushed under the rug that there was no way I was telling anybody, oh, well, this is what's going on. And of course, I shared it with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always tell me, maybe there's a reason you're not having kids. Maybe you are here to be a blessing to somebody else. In which during that time when we were trying to get pregnant, we did have a cousin who had a little boy that we spent a lot of time with. And so, when I was with him on those weekends or extended holidays or whatever, it was great. And it was kind of that fix to my motherly thing. But at the same time, deep down inside, you want your own child. Oh, why come you ain't already pregnant? Like I heard that so often that now I have gotten it in the back of my mind that I'm going to stay out of that woman's uterus. I'm going to stay out their bedroom. I'm going to stay out their personal life. When they're ready to share or do whatever, allow them to do that. Because I have been that person that's been through that I came home several Sundays heartbroken and just listening or repeating something that somebody had said to me. Women, and as a human race, we've just got to learn how to stop saying that. And I think too that when you see that somebody gets married, that's kind of the first thing. Oh, here comes the husband and then the marriage. Now there's a baby. Everybody might not want to have a child. Everybody might not be able to have a child. And we've got to learn how to respect it.
And these are things that we don't know unless you're talking about them, or unless you have that safe place to talk about it. And just to think that you were saying, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm feeling like I'm unworthy. I'm thinking maybe my husband's going to leave me because I can't have children. And all of these thoughts, these are torturing thoughts, bombarding your mind. But oftentimes, us as women, we're still walking around with our smiles. We're still functional. We just, even sometimes, just it hurts us inside when those words come, but we've learned to mask it. So we're cringing inside, but we're smiling at the same time.
Because my grandmother didn't curse. She didn't curse. Her vocabulary was so vast that she can say things to you and it's gonna cut, man, without even cursing. Because she's a Christian woman, so she didn't believe in cursing. She might have said the D word here and there, but no. So I the way I was spoken to, I find myself speaking to my children that way sometimes, and
Wow,
I don't
absolutely.
like it. Like I
Absolutely.
don't really curse at them, but hearing it, sometimes they do things that are just crazy, and it's like, you know what? But
Sometimes
I,
it might as well be a cuss word though, because like you said, your grandmother, she could cut the words, cut even the
yeah,
word says that. My God, that tongue is, you can't
just
tame the
yeah,
tongue.
you can't tame it. And
Lethal.
she's a person. It don't matter. We could be in church, we can be in the store, we could be in a restaurant. She do something she don't like. Our culture, we dealt with family separation all the time, right? So I think in my case, my grandmother's like, oh, why are y'all so mad? Why don't y'all smile a lot? Like, why aren't you like a certain way about life? I because I think she was conditioned that being separated from your parents is something that just happens all the time in our culture. So I don't think she understood sometimes, like, yo, this hurts having to be here with you. Like
Wow.
I want to be with my mom. I want to be with my dad. I don't want to be here. And so when you make us feel a certain kind of way because you just want us to be tough, it hurts, because it's like, yo, you gotta put, parents have to put themselves in the children's shoes. We are human beings too. We feel everything. Even though it was the best thing for me to be with my great grandma, because my mom had gotten to a point where it was like there was no way a child could be there. DCF had came in and removed us and done some things, but it's like for the first maybe 2, 3, 4 years of living with my great grandma was miserable. I would have
Mm.
rather been with my mom going through that chaos, but at least I'm with my mom, because my mother, again, hyper affectionate.
Mm.
She couldn't provide much. I always ate, always had clothes, but she couldn't, but hyper affectionate. So I come from a place that, yeah, there's drug use in the home, alcoholism, there's violence, everything going on at home. But I'm feeling loved. To go to a
Wow.
place where it's the polar opposite, where everything is being provided. I don't need anything. Where's the love?
So an emotional boundary that you would set. So a scenario, your sisters are mad at each other and want you to pick a side. So remember that our emotional boundary is understanding what is yours to feel and fix and what is not yours to feel and fix. This is a scenario that can happen quite easily during the holidays. If you have a big family, multiple siblings, you might have two of your siblings who are mad at each other and, you know, maybe they both like you, but they don't want to share you. So they may feel that pressure to agree with one sister or the other on how one feels and how one doesn't feel. But that is not your problem. You can love both of them, and you can set that emotional boundary that, hey, I'm available to listen, but I am not obligated to feel how you feel about this situation. So the first thing we're going to talk about is preparation. You want to limit surprises by having pre-established boundaries. If you don't know what your boundaries are, someone will set them for you, and this will leave you vulnerable to misuse and abuse. When you get into the social setting, where it may be extended family. I don't know about your family, but we, on both sides, my mother and my father's side, we have really big families. And so just in that context, we'll stay there. Even if, we all decide to get together for a holiday, there are going to be a lot of people in the space who you may not see year round. You may not be spending a lot of time with them day to day. So even though you're family, you haven't spent that bonding time, that intimate time together to really know that person's boundaries. And so you have to know your boundaries. They help us know what's expected in the relationship. If we don't communicate, then we don't know. Let's take the example of maybe you invite some people over your house and they go straight to the refrigerator and just grab a snack, but you don't really know them. So maybe that might offend you. But in their culture, in their space, when they go over to other people's houses, that's not a problem. And so if that's a problem in your home, then that's a boundary that would need to be explained. In the Black community, that might not have to be explained. But, if you're in diverse communities and you spend time with people outside of your normal community or cultural setting, racial setting, then there may be different boundaries. And so it's good for us to know those.
So the first 4 years, 5 years was kind of rocky, but 16, 17, she passed away when I was around, I think I was 21, I think. By that time, me and her were like this, bosom buddies, friends. Like, even when I moved out and, I still would hang in the neighborhood, but as soon as I get back to the neighborhood, my very first stop, you go see Nanny. Nanny, what's going on? What you need? Let me take the Nanny, why this trash? Let me get this trash out. Nanny, let me cut the grass. Nanny, what can I do for you? Like, what's going on? Let me sit down and talk to you. And we would talk. And we became buddies. And when she passed, everybody said, and I just couldn't do it. Everybody said she was waiting on you. Everybody came, but she was waiting on you. She was waiting on her friend. Like, where's Donnie? And like, there, excuse me. And it bothers me because it's like all she had done for me. She never really asked for much. All she wanted was me to come so she could talk to me one last time.
Desperation to connect can leave you vulnerable to connect with anyone to avoid being alone. So we do not want to allow loneliness to be our guide for seeking connection. That always leads to destruction. Think about it. It's not a matter of if you will connect, it's when you will connect. We've all been children before. If you are an adult, you have been a child before. So think about when you were young, or think about your children now. Now, as some children that we question, why are they even connected to this group? especially if the group is participating in behaviors that you know are not good for your child and you just want them to stay away. So if they're connected to maybe the community is vaping, or the community is having sex, premarital sex, or the community is, you name it, whatever the behavior is that you don't like. Well, this is showing us that we are all hardwired for connection. So if you do not connect to a healthy community, you're going to eventually connect. We all want to feel love. We all want to be heard, and we all want to be seen. So if that is not happening, let's say our first community is our home. If that's not happening in your home, then the people in your home, whether it be you, whether it be your children, whether it be your spouse, we're all going to be seeking that somewhere. So I encourage us to all start at home. Are we connecting with the people that we live with? Are we listening to them? Are we seeing them? Are we hearing them? Like, for real. So we all want to be connected to a healthy. So let's start at home. And then once we know what that model is from our experiences with our home being our first community, then that will likely help our children. That will help us to connect in healthy communities that extend outside of the home. How many of you have ever seen the pictures? If you look at the pictures, or if you just watch somebody who is angry, or even yourself, if you call yourself angry, you can just see how tense you get. It talks about how anger causes blood to flow to our hands. So oftentimes you might see someone with a balled up fist, or it's kind of like in a fighting position, or clenched jaws, if you pay attention. And then, as you can see, you get a rush of hormones, including adrenaline, that make you strong enough to take vigorous action. This is why anger can be so dangerous when it's not controlled, or when you haven't learned how to manage your emotions or identify them. Because when you act just naturally, if you're just having a secondary reaction to anger, you can see how it can get out of hand very quickly. So if you have young children, I have young children, so you can see it in young children. When young children get very angry, they have to be taught how to process their anger. If not, then I don't know about you. In my house, it could become a hitting match very, very quickly with young children. And so that's because this is their natural reaction to the emotion of anger. And we all have to be taught how to process that anger.
To the men that are listening, like, just understand, if you were raised in a single parent household, and it's your mom that's been controlling everything, before you resent her, try to process and understand her plight before you resent her, because what they go through, to no fault of their own, is what shaped them. So start having conversations, start asking questions before you might say, "Oh, my mom is mean," or "My grandmother was this way, this, that way." Understand that there's a series of events that have happened in their lives to shape who they are as a person. And they were conditioned to bottle that up for children not to see. So it's not that they don't love you, it's just the resentment of the assignment that they have.
episode of RestoreHearts TV.
Life is a journey, and there are many moments. Some moments are smooth. You flow through them effortlessly. There are other moments when life's challenges interrupt your momentum, yet you find the strength to get back on track, to keep moving. So even if you have to crawl to make it there, do it, because victory belongs to you. You are equipped to handle every part of the journey. You were created to overcome this. Don't give up. I love you.